Things were not going very well, and a couple of executives took it upon themselves to do the SE. I had led the path because I had worked at GM to get the 3800 powertrain in the what is now the TD, without redoing the interior and everything else. And these guys decided that they were running the show, and they talked the lenders, the state of Michigan, other people into pushing me aside, and they did the SE. And they thought that was going to be the answer to saving the company, and in some of our opinion, it was probably the wrong thing to do. Yeah. I always had the gas engine eventually in the plan, but when you're a little guy like Vixen was, trying to find an engine is very difficult. And as you all know, we weren't able to sell the TD in California because of emissions, and that's probably one market would have been, it could have been a quarter of the volume with people wanting to go up in the mountains for weekends. So I would have had the engine in there, but the other part of the SC I did not particularly go along with. Yes, Jim.
Did Stan Gruniger sell the first Vixen or who?
I can't answer that. I don't know the answer. I do know he was the first dealer. Whether he sold the first Vixen or not, I don't know.
Was your original dream that you would create your own chassis, or did you think of putting on another running gear?
You can't get there from here. I thought the advantage that I had was that I had designed and been in charge of 2 or 3 vehicles from the ground up, so I was accustomed to doing that kind of thing. And you can't get there from here. You can't find a chassis that'll work with a Vixen that'll fit in a garage and gets the fuel economy that we get.
And the body's designed first and then followed with your framework or chassis?
No, the framework went along the same time as the rest of the body, because it's all, to me a Vixen is packaged pretty well, and the guys that we dealt with down in Indiana that were selling us parts said, why don't you come down here? Joe down in the corner makes all these square fuel tanks, and you can just pick one out. And I said, yeah, but they don't fit where I want them to be. So if you look at your Vixen, every tank on there is specific to the Vixen. And to me, that's the only way you can take something that's 21 feet long and put in it everything that the Vixen has. Keeter Army, ends up with all of the fiberglass molds, and I work with him, and he was trying to find just an engine. He wanted to put a Subaru engine up in the front of the Vixen and make it work, and I showed him a few things as to why that wouldn't work. Yes, Betsy?
Wasn't there a story how you went from the Isuzu to the BMW?
Yeah, the Isuzu was represented in America by a very good friend of mine that had been at DeLorean and had been associated with Carl Story over in Lansing, a big Oldsmobile dealer. And it was a nice engine, and we had one in it, and it gave us the fuel economy we wanted, and it ran very well. And the problem was that when the Japanese came back to outline their program for me, they had us going into production a year later than we needed to with our little bit of cash flow that we had. You can't start a company like Vixen and have somebody say, well, you got to wait an extra year before you can build a vehicle and sell it. And so I had been working through Alfa Romeo and a Italian diesel called VM. And I noticed in the VM showroom over in Bologna, when I went over there, that there was a marine diesel engine that had a BMW on the front of it. And I thought, what's this all about? And they told me, well, BMW lets us build this engine for them for marine use. And then I thought, well, why don't we go just talk to BMW and see about their engine? And of course, the engine that we used is the one that Lincoln was using and was about not to use. So BMW had a lot of capacity for that particular engine. And I also felt that it'd be a lot easier to pick up a dealer if I could tell him he had a BMW engine than a VM engine and have to explain to him in Italian what a VM engine was and how great it was. So I think that from that standpoint, the whole thing worked out very well. I'm going to...
Where was the first retail dealership located?
Stan was down in Cincinnati, Ohio, or just in the outskirts there, but that basically was Cincinnati.
The number one dealer outlet?
Pardon?
The number one dealer outlet as far as volume, do you recall?
No, Stan was the number one dealer.
As far as volume.
Oh, I don't know that, Frank. I don't know I don't have a good answer for that.
Prototype 2 and 3 built, are they?
I don't think they're around. I think they were used for durability testing and died. I have notes on a lot of the stuff at the very, very end, and it's interesting because I went out and went through all those. I have photographs I didn't show you because it makes you cry. All the stuff that was at agency sitting out in the back field.
Oh, yeah.
If any of you have been there, you'll remember seeing that. It looked like it was very sad. Listen, thank you all very much. This is overwhelming to me, and I never, in my wildest imagination, thought that we'd be here doing this kind of thing. Jim Locke has one last question.
What role did Mike Cameron play at the Vixen plant?
You don't want to know that.
To my recollection, he was in charge of service. He was the guy that went out to find out what problems there were. He had some people working for him that did some work on the manuals. Yeah, I guess I'd call him the service manager for a while. Yes.
If you predict the funding, would you be interested in starting up again?
Pardon? Say again?
If you predict the funding, would you be interested in starting up?
I think it's possible because all of those molds Keter Army has, and to me those are the ones that are the hardest to start up with. You'd have to do some pretty good work in finding a powertrain. But I would love to consult with somebody. I'm not going to do it myself, but I would love to consult with somebody that would like to start it again because I think the thing still makes sense, and I would redo the instrument panel because I think that looks like some engineer designed it.
BMW is still making those engines.
Pardon?
BMW is still making those engines.
I don't know whether they are or not.
Yeah, they have one with direct injection. It's an inch bigger or something, but I think it's the same fundamental.
It's a 2.8.
It's more horsepower. It's not like 150.
Yeah.
With the same fuel economy.
Enjoy, everybody. One last question from the man that bought the least expensive Vixen out there.
But the best one. If you were to bring this vehicle back to life, would you, as far as new production, would you have to go through a lot of safety tests?
No, when we did it, there was an exclusion for things that are motorhomes. I think it had to have a certain number of characteristics, as I remember at the time. I don't know whether that still exists or not.
It must. Look at Winnebago's.
Yeah.
They got armored plates in front, or what are you suggesting?
No, it seemed to me that there were some things, if you had a bid and a this and a that you then could, you wouldn't have to pass all the passenger car standards, and that's what you want to get around. And the other thing you need to do is handle the emissions stuff, which is now getting more difficult. Yeah. Thank you very much again.